Hi everyone, Callie here. In this video, I'm going to build and review the Natural History Museum. It is set number 10326 and it contains 4,014 pieces. It is an 18 plus set and comes under the Icons banner. The set was released on the 1st of December 2023 and retails for $299.99 here in the US. Natural History Museum is the 19th entry into the modular series, and it does come on 1.5 base plates just like Assembly Square, which explains the higher piece count and of course the higher price point as well. The set comes with 9 exclusive minifigures. We can see 7 of them here on the side of the box. The other 2 are the statues that are at the front of the museum facade. It also comes with a dog and an impressive brick-built dinosaur, all of which help populate this rather large building. On the back of the box, the artwork shows how the Natural History Museum fits within the 2 most recent modulars. We've got the Jazz Club on the left and then the Boutique Hotel on the right. Underneath we get graphics showing some more details about the Natural History Museum itself. First off, how the modular floors connect together. Then we've got a nice outline diagram with the dimensions before we get into some of the details we'll find in the set, including the observatory, the space, exhibit, and of course the dinosaur too. Even though the set launched a few months ago, I just picked it up because they had the promo where you could get the food truck if you bought a modular building, and I decided it was finally time to get it. And my city really needs it, let's be honest. I love opening a box, and inside I found 33 build stages. That is incredible. Look at the colors in that last one. Most of though, we've got sort of a lot of brown and a lot of that sand green. It's a pretty sort of dull palette when you see it all sort of laid out like this. The building didn't look too bland on the artwork though, so I'm hoping there will be some color pops along the way. Inside the box, we've also got these 6 long white plates. Additionally, we have the base plate and the half base plate to build the building on, and of course, the manual. I love reading manuals that have a nice write-up about the building and the designer, and this one, of course, being a modular building, we have a page of that. It's actually pretty short, it's just the one page. I was kind of hoping for maybe a little bit more, but that's all we get. Otherwise, it's pretty standard manual. I do like that it's on the sort of gray background. It's a little easier on the eyes, and of course all the parts list and everything at the back. Flipping through the manual, it looks like a pretty fun but straightforward build, and it's the sort of thing that I really enjoy putting together. The banners are inside the cardboard envelope that the instructions come in. I almost threw them out, but luckily I noticed before I did, and they're made of vinyl, so they look really good too. I did Mills plate the base plates before I got started. I kept everything in that dark bluish gray. I was able to get these parts off the pad wall to be able to do that. It's a nice solid structure. And I think that's enough faffing about, and it's time to get started with this build. In stage 1, we have our first minifigure, and we'll take a closer look at all the minifigures at the end of the build. I really enjoyed that build stage, laying out the exact footprint of the building. We've got 3 studs at the back there, which is always just sort of waste of space to create an alleyway. We've got lots of jumpers in the middle there, so there's going to be lots of things put in there, which is pretty exciting. The front, we've got this little structure here. I'm not really sure what that's for, and it's nice that we got a slope for the connector to the other buildings. Some jumpers at the front there too, and as you can see, there's sort of everything's sort of laid out as how this is going to go. The actual building itself is pretty small when you look at sort of the overall area dedicated to it on the base plate. There's a lot for the sidewalk and then that front area. Nonetheless, let's get started on the next plate. That was so much fun to put all that together, and you can see we've got the entirety of the sidewalk finished. There's so many studs there, I'm sorry, jumpers there. There's going to be a lot of detail. In the middle, we've got something that I'm sure we're going to cover up. We got some bones, some sort of like it's an archaeology kind of thing going on in the center there. So that's a nice little Easter egg that I didn't obviously know was in there. You can see everything kind of coming together on these 2 base plates. We've got that little room at the side back there. And then obviously we've got that essential area as well. Let's finish making the footprint of the other side of the building. stage 3 was transformative. Look at how much detail we've added in just that one build stage. We've got all the flowers at the front, which are going to frame the entranceway. We've also not only tiled off the other room on the other side, we've got a nice bathroom here, and I really like the way we've made the little toilet. It's pretty compact, but I love micro builds in Lego. I think that's really great. And we also built and hid another little Easter egg in here. You can see the little archway, and I'm actually going to pull off the plate here so you can see what's underneath it. It's a little block of cheese. So there's no rat in there, which would have been kind of nice too to have a little rat, but that's a little block of cheese hidden out under there for a rat. And underneath here is, as I expected, we covered up those bones that we saw before. At the back of the alleyway, we've actually got a little drain, which is actually really cute how they did that. It's a transparent tile on the floor, but it looks really great. And we've also got the exit for a door over there as well. So now that everything's put back together, I think it's time to keep building. With that build stage, we've basically completed the entirety of the ground floor. Everything is beautifully tiled off. Now you can see exactly how this is all going to come together. All of the jumpers that we have make me feel like this is going to be absolutely packed with detail on this ground floor. The front, we've obviously got the step in place now as well, and the areas are clearly outlined for the statues and the columns. Museum's starting to come out of the ground now, and what we can see is how we've got these two tones of the dark tan and the light tan working together there to add some texture. Inside, we've got a little bench at the back here with a little donut, which I believe is a homage to the police station. I really like that we have this piece. I haven't seen this before, and maybe it's really common, but it's a perfect piece for a toilet roll, and it just slips right in there. Coming around to the front, we can see that the columns have started to be constructed. They were actually cool little builds. And we also have the stairs coming up to the raised level in the center as well, and they're on both sides, as you can see there that I've pointed out. On the other side of the restroom, we have this cute little lab. I love the micro build we have here for the microscope and that printed tile piece. It just looks fantastic. It's obviously very small, but pretty effective. The columns at the front are a pretty neat little build. You can just sort of pop them off. These parts are actually sort of embedded, so I can't take that off. But inside, we've got a little profile brick inside there, and it just sort of creates that internal structure. And then this is actually just kind of neat with a lot of snot work and tiles to create that sort of effect. You can see here we've just got the snots inside and then the tile on the top to make a nice polished look. And of course the round tile at the front, the round tile at the top just finishes it off beautifully. And I just think they look really great and effective, and it's simple part usage, but it's great design. One of the things I love about putting together modular buildings is every stage you feel like you're really achieving something. So here we've put in the walls and the doors. So both the lab and the bathroom have their structures already, and you've got windows in there as well for the bathroom, which is really nice. Other than the walls, we've added to the interior as well. We've put in the railings here either side of this main area in the center, and we've also got the railings over at this side as well, at the other side of the stair. I'm always interested in how to add details into buildings, especially when I come to do my own mocks, and we've obviously got some snot work there for mounting a picture or something, and then adding the different tone plate at the top to add some more color dimension. The rear door from the lab into the alleyway has been framed with these nice columns. They're actually just the candlestick pieces, a bit of detail at the top as well. interior of the ground floor is now packed with details, and it just sort of has come alive in one build stage. It was really satisfying to do, and all these little mini builds. We've got sort of rock geology area over here. I really like this piece. It's a little geode and it adds just a nice little sort of element of color. We've got a nice volcano over here, and then behind that we've got some what I assume is to be ancient pottery. We also have over here the broken piece of pottery. We put those pieces in the last stage, but now it sort of all comes together with the platform in place as well. At the front of the building, we have the reception desk. We got a little till and sort of probably guide maps, and then underneath we've got some souvenirs that you can buy. That's just a really nice touch and really beautifully put together. On the other side of the ground floor, we've got the archaeology area. I really like this little mini skull here. I'm not sure exactly what animal it's supposed to be, but that's pretty cool. And we've got a sort of whip thing. And then we've got some fossilized feces in a display case there. And then coming around the front, you can see that we've also got some dinosaur eggs. I mean, I'm assuming dinosaur eggs, but really that's ridiculous. It's some other animal. You can't have dinosaur eggs in real life. Excuse me while I move cat hair off of my build. No matter what I do, I end up with cat hair everywhere, even though they're not allowed in the Lego room. The front of the building, we've got some really nice details coming together as well. Here, you can see how the tiles are added on there and give different dimensions using both snot and some of those traffic light pieces. So it gives a nice sort of depth to the texture as well. That might have been the most repetitive build stage so far, but it has given a lot of depth and texture to this facade of this building. We've also got the start of what will be the frame of the windows sort of sitting there as well. And then there's also a snot brick inside the internal structure parts of the columns there. And it's just the same on both sides. It looks really sharp and good. The snot work to it with the tiles on top is given just a lot of depth and texture, as I said, to the front of the building, considering it's all the same color. Focus of that stage was mainly building up the front door area with the sort of area with the pillars and then the doors and then the windows at the top to help frame it. Doors fully open, there's nothing in the way to obstruct them, so that's a really nice feature. As we built up the pillars, there's also some snot work in the inside there, which I assume is to help the pillars stay in place when we finally get there. We've got these cute little builds here for the handrails, and as you can see they're actually only attached to the very bottom, and then we're sort of using just the angle to kind of keep it in place at the top. There's not actually a jumper or anything in there to hold it in place. We added some interior details into the build as well during that stage. We've got a red ingot here above the lab, probably to signify like the lab is being used. We've got arches in there to create the interior architecture, which is lovely, and then we've got an extractor fan on top of the bathroom, so that's actually a really nice little detail in there as well. Raised arches in there really do open up that space, and it's a good sort of choice that the designers made there. I would say it's looking really good so far, and I'm excited to add in on the details, especially these windows at the front. Quite a bit of that stage was pretty repetitive, just building up the walls, but you can see there is some nice details in there, a few masonry bricks just to frame the windows there that adds just a little bit of texture and sort of breaks up the monotony of that green section. We started to frame off the windows here with those pillar pieces, and that looks pretty good, the way it sort of protrudes and creates a little bit more depth and texture to it. They're held in place with those kind of double stud pieces. I don't actually know their technical name. The rest of that was just sort of building up the walls at the back and adding in the windows and everything. There is a nice little mini build that we put together though. Just created artwork at the back of the right hand side here next to the volcano, showing the layers of the earth, I'm pretty sure, with the inner core, mantle, and crust. I'm not entirely sure what this white part is for, like uh, showing the like going through the layers of the crust. Maybe I don't know. I really don't know what that part is for. Maybe someone in the comments can let me know. The model's looking great though and ready to keep going. The window frames are done and I'm really happy with how these turned out. The use of the tooth element there to cap off the end is really pretty with the tile in the middle and the two studs showing that as they line up perfectly with the column. I think that looks really good. It's a great aesthetic. It's something I didn't really quite notice when I was looking at the box art. As you know, I don't really look at the box art too deeply when I've already decided that I'm going to build something. On the back, we've added in some details to create more of the drain pipe there. It's something, it's better than nothing, and I do actually think it's been executed rather well. It was an incredibly interesting build stage. I had a couple of really great techniques that I'm going to show you in a second. Of course, first we started off by tiling off the top of the first floor for the modular building, and there's a closer look at the museum tile piece that looks really great. One of my favorite parts of this was the way the staircase was created. Just got to remove this tile so I can grab the staircase out to show you. It's really great construction. It's just plate with these triangular prisms put on top, alternate between the 2x and the 1x to create that effect, and then add a railing at the side, and then when you actually clip it back into place, it creates the angle for a staircase. I think this is just really great part usage, and it also like limits the amount of real estate you have to give up because you're basically just giving up a few two studs at the bottom and two studs at the top there to place it, and also you've got all the space underneath, which in this case we've used for the bench. They've also created a little modular wall there so you can still get into the back of the toilet and the lab. Wall, we've got a few more souvenirs as it sits behind the reception desk, and then on the other side we've got printed clock and two bones in there for the lab, and then toilet rolls at the top for the toilet. I really like this design choice. It's something I'm probably going to incorporate in future mocks so you can get into the smaller rooms and not feel like it's so cramped. That's just a really neat thing that it didn't really occur to me that you could do until I did this in this particular building. Wow, a lot of details went in that build stage, and we'll start here at the very front of the building. At both sides, we've got these cute little mini fauna builds. I really like the fact that we've got the nice fern pieces. I absolutely adore these, and I wish I could just go and buy thousands of them for the city, but they're kind of expensive. I think they're 17 cents each. Anyway, this build is really cute. It just sort of slips in there right under the window frame, which is beautiful. The area is framed off with a fence that's made by those rounded plates with spikes running through it. I think it's really effective and it's better than sort of the molded fence pieces that we get. At the other side, the fence does have a gap in it. I'm not really sure what we're going to put in there, but I guess we'll find out in due course. And of course, both sides have the little statues that are, remind me of Rivendell, and then there's also a little fauna build on this side as well. I think it looks just fantastic with all those details added in. I also want to show you how we've made the columns, which of course are, key to this. It's a brick with some snot on top and then covered in tile. It's just such an interesting sort of way of putting it together, and yet it creates that beautiful sort of texture that you get in a column. It's a really creative and intelligent technique to pull off that effect, and it just sits on the column base that we built before. With all those details in there, I think the front of this building looks absolutely superb and exactly like you would expect from a natural history museum. At the rear of the building, we have a dog with Ben and a bone in it. I think it's like the dog stole the bone or something. It's like an internal story, and you can read about it in the instruction manual. It's a bit weird, but okay, whatever. And then we've added a couple of flowers next to the drain pipe. Building that brachiosaurus was an absolute delight, and it's a very solid build. It stays on that platform. You can't sort of move it around at all. It's not supposed to come off. It's supposed to stay on that stand. There's a little foliage at the bottom just to give it a little bit of color. And then we have the support column for a neck, which is very sort of lifelike as we would see in a museum as well. My favorite part is definitely the white banana for the rib cage. I think that's just so much fun. There are really two places you can articulate in the model. First off is the tail. You can have it up, down, to the side, pretty much wherever you want. There's plenty of joints there. The ribs don't move, but the legs actually do. They're not tacked down to the bottom of that display piece at all. You can have them however you would like. You know, if you want to bend the knee, you can, that's fine. Because that support barrier, the head and neck is actually kept in place, but the head looks really great. I love the design on that just to bring the details. And the whole unit just sits perfectly in that space that we created earlier in the build. Once placed in the spot, you can definitely agree that the Brachiosaurus sure is tall. We've begun the second floor of the building by just putting down some structural plate. You can see at the back we've got the necessary support in there as well to keep it kind of solid. It's interesting to see where those observation cutouts are going to be and how much sort of floor space we've actually given up to make that possible. There's no tiling on the second floor, so straight on to building up the walls. Other than starting to build up the exterior walls, there are a few details that we added in here, including part of the drain pipe for the second floor. And then here we've got like a little barrier so you can't use the stairs to go up to the roof, which is for the caretaker. And we'll see that later in the build, of course. Here we've got the outline for the planetary display, which is the main attraction on this floor. And as we flip it around to the front, you can see how the windows have started to be outlined. We've even got some snot work there to help with sort of making the front of the building look superb. So it's going to be fun to sort of see all that come together, even if this is all just the sort of base work that you don't see in the finished build. Solar system is now complete, but you'll see that Earth is missing, and that is because I didn't get a little aqua ball in my set. I thought maybe it was on the floor or something, but no, it's not there. I just don't have it. So we have a solar system with no Earth. Even though it's not to scale, I actually really like this model. By just putting the little color balls on those little clips, you can basically see them all going around the sun. I like how they put the rings on Saturn. I think that's just really smart and beautiful. The viewing hole's going to be given a facelift by using these ornate fence pieces. I think this is another great design choice because it fits within the sort of era that this building is going for. And there you can see again where we're going to have that entryway up to the roof for the caretaker. Part inventory to the rescue. I had an aqua ball, so here we go. Pop that in place. Woohoo! Solar system is complete. I really do like this actually. I'll show you from a different angle than before. Just so you can get an idea of like how the 3D dimensions have sort of come together, how we've got the really small planets. And even using like the minifigure head just to show a different size planet. I think that's pretty nice. added quite a few exhibits to the floor, and most of them are sort of homages to different Lego themes, which is actually pretty nice as a Lego builder. I know I've got these exhibits offset by a stud. I do fix it later, so don't worry about that. We've got a pirate ship, the Forestman hideout, and of course the iconic yellow castle. All these micro builds are really cute and just sort of a wonderful way of representing Lego. On the other side, we've got the space exhibit, and you can see the sort of Galaxy Explorer shown there in micro build and things. That's just sort of a really nice little diorama they've kind of created there, throwing all things about space. And then we've got this fun little rock thing. It reminds me of like the rock monsters. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be something else related to Lego specifically, or if it's just a cool little like asteroid display. And then at the side we have a nice rocket display there that reminds me of like the Saturn rockets right next to the solar system. Overall though, it does seem a little bare. There's plenty of empty space here, and so I'm hoping that's not it. Here that might actually be it for the exhibits because we spent that last stage just building up the walls. Mostly at the front is where a lot of the detail is. We got those beautiful olive green masonry bricks. I really like those and the way they've used them in this set to sort of just make the wall a bit more interesting. We've got quite a lot of detail at the front here. That's probably going to be a nice big window, and it just sort of gives a bit of depth and dimension to it. We've also added a layer of the dark brown plate, which correlates with what we did over here on the first floor, just to kind of create like a little bit of gradient and color on the exterior. The front windows are now in place, and these totally fit with the sort of architectural style that we're going for here. It wouldn't make sense for this to be one big window so you could actually see the exhibits inside. I like how it's all framed off, and we've got a nice depth to it as well. It's sort of inset from the front of where the pillars are going to be. We've added some structural details to the interior as well, with these two arch beams that match what we did on the floor below. And then we've also started to decorate the walls. First off here we have a large anchor as part of the shipping area, and then we've built this sort of, okay, I actually don't know what this is. It's clearly next to the rocket and it's got something that indicates flying off into space, but I don't know what that design there is actually representing. Please comment below if you can help me out with that one. Most of that stage was dedicated to building up the walls. Adding more masonry brick, especially around those windows, is something I really like about the design. But we also added in a couple exhibits on the wall. The far wall here, we have a telescope that you can see is being popped in there, just to go with all the sort of space stuff that we're doing over in that area. And then on the far wall, this is when I realized, it's misaligned, because that doesn't look right. Lego would design something like that. Quick change, fixed all of those out, and now you can see the helmets are perfectly aligned above their respective micro builds. So we've got the pirate hat, the forestman hat, and of course the knight's helmet. Unfortunately, that's all the interior details we get on this floor. The window details all added in. The facade of this building is really starting to come together. There is a slight difference in how the windows look on this floor compared to the ground floor. As you can see at the top there, we've got like a curved kind of treatment to the top of the window as opposed to the flat that we had on the lower floor. While I may not know the proper architecture term for it, I really like this like recessed archway we have going on here to frame out the window. It just adds sort of a lot of texture and depth to the front of the building. It makes it really interesting to look at, and of course keeps it within the architectural theme that we're going for on this facade. There were really two key things that we added in this stage, and one of them was adding the staircase from the second floor up to the roof where the caretaker is going to go. I showed you how that was constructed earlier, and we've tiled off the top. In front over two of the windows, we've added these vinyl banners. These are kind of the marquee things about this set. They look absolutely stunning. Not only do they add much needed color to the front of this building, but they are also authentic with what we're going for the Natural History Museum. I've seen these on the Smithsonian, for example. I'm a huge fan. I really am. Just got the columns to finish off, and then this is all done. Both of these columns were constructed the same way as we did on the ground floor, with the studs on top work in the center and then adding tile around it to create the ionic design. Putting the white ingot piece either side of that to flank the top is just a nice little detail that has been added in here. It pops onto the top of the ground floor, and it can also push in and be supported completely on the second floor as well, and then it becomes basically flush. Beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it really sort of brings that entire front facade together. And I really like that they went for this classic sort of design for the Natural History Museum. As I turn this around, you can kind of look at how we've got some grading of color with using those different layers of brick and plate just to give it some texture and it not just be one solid color. It's so important because it'd be so boring to look at. The drainage pipe is all lined up beautifully at the back and just adds something there. Although, you know, I always feel like these studs at the very back of these modular buildings are just wasted space, and I need to create stories for myself to fill in those alleyways. I just want to pause and admire this building and play with the doors and just put my minifigures in it, but let's build the roof and finish it off properly. As you would expect, we started the roof by laying down the plate. We've got the nice grey on top with the holes inside so we can see where the skylights and then the stairs are going to go. At the back, we've got quite a bit of structural plate. It is still pretty pliable, but that's fine. It will obviously secure up as we add more brick and structure to the top. From that stage, we've laid out basically where all the areas are going to be on the roof here. Both sides are the same with sort of all the structural brick and white on the outside. We've then got some dark grey and tan brick here, which is actually going to be the support to create the structures to make the roof kind of elevate up. And then in the center here, we have all the layout that we need for the caretaker's observatory and two ray clips at the front for some decorations later on. Overall, the structure is now pretty rigid with those pieces added, so I'm just excited to keep going. Looking at the roof from the back, you can see how we've started to elevate around those skylights with those slope elements, and of course around the caretaker's little like den up here as well. We've got nice tiles at the front to signal where it comes in, and then how that sloping tile has really sort of made that skylight. And then over here we've got this cute little door. It's already tiled off and around. It's Lego, so I'm not going to think about how heavy that door would actually be to open. if you were coming up the stairs, and then I don't really know how you would open the door from above, but we'll just go with it. It's fine. Final detail at the back here is we do have that little top of the drain pipe just to keep the consistency with what's going on around the back of the rest of the building. We'll take a look at the front in a later stage. Stage was all about decking out the caretaker's office, and of course we also built the caretaker himself. He's a pretty cool minifigure and I can't wait to pop him in here. That stage did not disappoint at all. We created 2 of these wall panels, and notice how the interior keeps the same sort of colorways we had on the exterior, which is really nice detail that they didn't have to include. I like how it's all tiled at the front and curved like that. It just looks so good. I'll actually take both of these off so we can properly look at the interior. This is a compact, jam-packed desk. I mean, we have everything from a table lamp, typewriter, map, even got a planet in the dome, there's statues, there's books. It's got everything you would expect sort of the caretaker of the museum to need in his office. And it's all beautifully designed. And although there's a lot in there, it doesn't actually feel too cramped. It just feels like it's a well used and tidy office. Those panels just pop right back in, and you can sort of see once we start to fill the rest of that in, it's going to be hard to see all those details, but it is nice that those panels just sort of pop off at this time anyway, so we can see all the things inside that we may never see again. I know, you just saw me build this and now it looks like it did before, but I took the panels off so you can see how modular this is and how easy it is to actually see inside to the office once the build is complete. The first panel we have is the door, and I like how it's a clear door because not only can we see inside to the office, but also I think he would like to be able to look at the sky and stuff while he's sitting up there. Pretty simple construction, but highly effective, and it's beautifully tiled off at the top. And those curved slopes really give a beautiful polished look to the overall thing, and you can just pop it right in place. And we just need the roof, and we've built this little cute modular panel. I love the design of this, the combination of the dark and the light gray and then the silver spikes. It just gives a nice medieval sort of theme to it, although I don't think that's really necessarily keeping with the architecture. You can see there the skylight, which is a great idea, beautiful way of just adding some natural light into this. Yeah, it is definitely better to remove the door panel first. That was kind of dumb of me to do that, but never mind. And then be able to secure this into place, just a couple of pressure points, and there we go. I've managed to lose one of them in the sides in the process. Let me just fix that up. There we go. And with that in place, you can actually, you would never need to take the roof off. You can see inside with just that front panel, and it easily comes in and out because you've got the 2 jumpers. That's obviously how you're supposed to use it, and I feel kind of silly thinking I need to take both parts off, but it's fine if we got a good close look at the structure of it. As you saw there, it's super easy to manipulate it to put the caretaker in and out, no problems. Coming out, you can really sort of appreciate the structure for a whole. It is obviously dark gray, and that is not necessarily the most attractive colors in the world, but for what it is, I think it's executed very, very well. We just did a lot of work on the 2 symmetrical sides of the roof. You can see here how we've got those beautiful slopes there to give it a nice smooth finish, and we've got a couple of studs on top there for a nice little bit of detail. As you come around the side, you can really see how that pops out and looks just fantastic and flush. Around the front is where we have a lot of the really nice details. My favorite part are these each side. You've got this beautiful like window frame with a little micro figure in there. It's just absolutely gorgeous design. And then when we start to look up into the center where the skylight will be housed, you can just see how beautifully tiled off, and just adding simple things like those pyramid pieces adds a little bit more detail. It just makes me so happy with the quality of the construction and design in these modular buildings. Building and placing those skylights was probably some of the most satisfying work you will do in this set. It just absolutely completes it. It looks perfect. It's ideal for the sort of style that we've gone for with this building, and it makes complete sense so we can actually see into the building, and also so that we would have natural light as a visitor inside as well. We've also filled in the two edges, completely tiled it off. Those skylights are not made for removal. They're not modular in any way. They stay pretty much rigidly in place, and if you want to take them out, you got to deconstruct those sides. Even though it's not quite finished, I'm just so impressed by how good this roof actually looks. It's not just something to close off the building, it's absolutely part of the design and the architecture style of the entire build itself. And as you see the roof of your Lego city pretty often, I do appreciate it. And of course, I also really like the fact that we have the telescope for the caretaker as well. Building the canopy was absolutely delightful. Just look how we have the framing around the front with the wet ingot pieces sitting on knotwork. We've then got rails on top to create that effect. And then of course you've got those two beautiful elements that I always associate with Rivendell no matter what other sets they might come in. There's actually a lot of really great building techniques put together to create this canopy and how it beautifully comes together. You can see it's on hinges here, and if you get it just right, they will pop down to put that gray element in the middle, which means there's no gap in the design, which is actually really clever, because when pieces come together on an angle like that, it really sort of bothers me when you can see a clear joint. When I turn it around, you can really see the internals of it and how that's all coming together. There isn't anything in there. There's no like little Easter eggs or whatever hidden up in the canopy. And you've got the two clips, which is how it connects to the front there. It's absolutely seamless. And all that's left is to put the roof on the building. Don't know about you, I find this part really satisfying. Just bringing it up and putting on and seeing how that canopy just finishes off those columns, and just how that white framing really sort of helps separate the sand green of the building with the dark gray of the roof. Man, that looks so good. We've added in the last of the details, and the build is actually now complete. We've got the window washer over here, which I could live without because I think it just clutters the building and takes away from the great architecture, but I understand that it brings life to the model. At the front, we've got an old lady sitting with a couple of birds and posting a letter. And then at the other side, we have the cherry blossom, which I think just is phenomenal. It gives me such Washington, D.C. feels. I really like the fact that it's pink limbs with white flowers. It just, oh, it's beautiful and completely stands out and perfect with the building. And I sort of prefer this in front of the building than the window washer. It's a bit weird that we'd have two things covering up both sides of the building. The window washer construction is actually fine. There's like two clips at the top there, and there's actually a new element used in here that I hadn't seen before. It's this sort of like 90-degree clip. Maybe it's pretty common in Technic sets, it's just not something I've personally come across, but that's actually a really neat element that I think would help people create their own mocks and stuff in the future. The stand itself is actually a simple construct, just plate with a few pieces on top to create a railing, and then you just sort of clip it back into place. But it's got the little pneumatics and everything in there, and its little bucket, so it's got all the things you would want and expect from a modular building. And finally, here's a closer look at the nice old lady sitting on a bench, which is a pretty simple construct of just tile on top of plate. It's minifigure appreciation time, and we'll start off with the caretaker because why not? It is his museum. I do love the torso. He's a little name badge there, and he's bow tie. That is a really cute design. He's got a sort of more relaxed face or a more serious face, and you can see the nice detail we have on the back of his coat there too. Obviously, it would be better if we had printed legs, but not to be. We have the obligatory child in the set. He has a pretty simple torso, just a nice sort of sweater to be going out about with. He's got a very happy face and a cool hairpiece. He's got a double-sided face too, and he's like shocked and awed at the excitement of all the exhibits, I suppose, and that the same design carries onto the back of his sweater. We have a visitor to the museum on the next one, and the key thing about her is the fact that she has a prosthetic leg. She has a pretty nice little print torso as well. You know, it's just a nice sweater, casual wear that people would wear. And she's got a beauty mark on her face, which is something a little bit different, and she's holding a camera. She also has a double-sided face. This one's a little bit more serious. Maybe her kid did something wrong, and we've got the nice two-tone of the pinks there just to kind of highlight some texture to her sweater. Otherwise, she's pretty generic. We actually have two employees. They both have the same torso printing with the shirt and tie and the little name tag, and they both have the plain blue trousers as well. Nothing particularly special about these guys, but I do think that museum uniform is actually pretty good, and it's nice to see that they added a couple of those in there. We've also got some double-sided faces on these two, and so you can really start to create your own stories using these and figuring out what might be happening in the museum at the time. The old lady has a pretty cute autumn sweater. I actually really like that. It reminds me of the Afrian cabin. I don't know if that's where it came from or if it's just something similar, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's really nice torso printing, and I really like the fact that she has red glasses and a cute little, like, she's just content face. Her other expression is maybe a little bit more serious. Not really that angry or anything like that, just, chilling out. And of course, the torso printing carries around the back, and you got a little bit of detail at the sides there just to show that the sweater is being pinched a little. Overall, pretty solid minifigure there. Our final figure is the window washer, and he's got pretty standard overalls, really. Nothing too particularly special about that. I do like his little cap, though. That's pretty nice compared to like a hairpiece that the rest of them have. He doesn't have a double-sided face, which makes sense because you would see underneath the cap, but he does have nice back torso printing there to finish his overalls as well. Again, no printed leg pieces on this guy. The final two minifigures aren't technically minifigures according to LEGO, but they are to me, and they are the two statues at the front of the building. They both have that same beautiful torso printing. Is it the same as the Rivendell set? I'm going to have to go look and check. Hold on. I have confirmed they are indeed the same torso printing as we have in the Rivendell set. So the only difference really is different hair pieces, and she's got a skirt, and he has the legs. That's the back of the torso print. If you're not familiar with it, it's pretty stylish, actually. It works really well as a statue. So really pleased with the minifigure selection that we have here. I finished this build a couple months ago, back in April, and so I'm sort of looking at it today with really fresh eyes and critiquing what I really like about it now that I've actually finished the build and what things really stand out to me post sort of forgetting how it was all kind of constructed and put together. Key element is obviously how beautiful this looks and how dominant the awning really is. Overall, this part of the build right here in the center is really where it sort of draws your eye, and I think it's because it's the cleanest part of the build. LEGO definitely hasn't gone for less is more approach to this. In fact, if you look at the top here, you can see that every single window is covered in something. We've got the window cleaner here, we've got the two banners covering this one, and then we've got the cherry blossom tree, which is obstructing your view of this window as well. And actually of the banner too, which is kind of a shame because that banner is gorgeous and you can't really see it. Now I can probably move my cherry blossom tree to sort of do whatever I want like that maybe, and then you can kind of see a little bit more of the banner, but still it's obstructed. It's not clean and crisp, and of course it's reality, but I'm trying to be critical here of things about the display that could be improved. And then when we get to the bottom, there's a lot going on too. We've got the woman down here with the birds, and then obviously I've got the minifigures at the front, so we can ignore them. That was my personal choice. But then we've got the statues here. We've got parts of the cherry blossom on the ground, and then, there's a lot sort of going on in front of these windows as well. Now, of course, I would probably sit here going, it looks pretty bland and plain if these things weren't there. But if I take maybe just something simple like him out of here, let's remove the window cleaner. I think that helps. I think that helps a lot. I think it just sort of cleans up the build a little bit. And that was something that I thought as soon as I put it on there, and I wasn't sure if I was going to sort of like it over time. And I think over time, I definitely prefer it not to be part of the build. I think it just takes it away. So I'll probably take this window washer and put him on a different building. It'll really sort of depend, I guess, on where it goes in the city and what is actually sort of around and next to it. Overall, though, I have to say the facade is gorgeous, right? Your eye is taken into the things that really matter, which is the awning, the columns, and sort of this little dome at the top. It's really where you're drawn to, and then you start to sort of see that there's a lot of things happening. I do like how the museum sign does absolutely pop, though. Still absolutely in awe at this beautiful awning. The design in here, even things like an upside down heart, it would never occur to me to put it upside down, and yet it looks better that way than it could possibly look the right way up. We've also got these gorgeous studs here at the very top of the column just to frame it off, and then the Ignis in the center. I don't think I highlighted that during the build, and Those are just little details that really make this shine. Isn't this cherry blossom just absolutely freaking gorgeous? I just love the details. We got the different kinds of flowers there too. We got the, my goodness, I forget what they're called, but the ones, you know, that have the stems, and then the sort of flat ones that we have here that I only think I first saw on the Friends advent calendar. So we've got the nice mix of different elements in there to really build this together. And it's really cute the way the small ones actually go inside the slightly bigger ones there too to create that effect. I don't actually mind how the back of this building looks. I guess it's flat in its design, but at least they have some nice elements of color coming through by having these layers of plate in amongst all the brick. One thing I really sort of want to notice and highlight is the fact that they did go to the effort of making the framing of this door very akin to what we have at the front, and of course it does open nicely, no problems. And the fact that we have the drain pipe kind of going through just to break up the basically block of color and then showing that, you know, maybe we've got something growing down here with this flower. I do think this is kind of a waste of a dog. I know they have a story. I'm probably going to move this dog around the front or something. This is just a little weird and quirky and completely unnecessary for me, but, you know, whatever, that probably made the designer happy, so we're just going to go with it. And then of course at the top you can just pop off the front panel and you can get into the caretaker's office, which is still a really great feature, and I really like it when you have these little modules like this. You can just pick off and you can get into something and really appreciate the internal details that are hidden when you have that in front. The ground floor of the set is really where it's all about for me, because you come in through these two very inviting doors and then you hit the reception area, which also has the gift shop. And the fact that behind that is the toilet and the little lab, and that this actually comes out so you can access it, is just such a beautiful feature. And then when we move over here, you know that you have the story of the little broken artifact, right? And then you've got the gorgeous sort of earth science section over here, which is just so wonderful to just have too. And then of course over here you get to the brachiosaurus, which is the pierre de resistance of the whole thing. Is what everyone wanted to build and be part of. It's actually just such a beautiful model, and it just fills up the space so well. The fact that the ground floor is tiled does really help give it that polished, finished look and just elevates it so much more. And the fact that we got all those jumpers everywhere so you can really sort of place your minifigures where you want to really does help make this feel like a beautiful, finished, polished piece. Polished is just not a word that you could give the second floor though. And it's not because it's studded. I think it's because we just have this massive gap right here. It just feels so incomplete. And the fact that we have these open sections so we can see what's coming through just doesn't look as good. It feels so barren. I am a huge fan of this Lego homage that we have going on over here. Obviously that works really well. But when we turn it around, all these walls are empty, right? Because they're recessed in because of the windows. And it's just like, okay, there's just not a lot to see up here. You just don't feel like you're immersed in a lot of displays, even though, yes, I mean, I'm counting them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things. So sure, maybe that's better than it seems. A couple of details I don't think I pointed out during the build are these cute little lights that we have in here, which is actually like a nice little feature too. And barren was something that I really felt about the set but when I built it, and that has not changed as time has progressed. It just, I don't know what I want to change about it. Maybe having something coming up through this would be fine, or maybe I could set up a pendulum or something so that that hole has a purpose, because right now it has no purpose. Then I've placed the floor back on the building. You can see that, yes, this whole viewing port makes complete sense. You've obviously got this large dinosaurs coming through, and you probably would want to see it from above and get a closer look at the head. Makes complete sense to me and is not a design flaw. But then they've gone for the same thing on the other side for symmetry, but you're looking into nothing. What is down there? A little bit of pottery and a little bit of broken pottery? Like, that is just such a wasted space in what would be a very confined space and premium space in this sort of museum. Maybe what I should do is just remove this entirely and put plate in and open up the space. Or I could do my pendulum idea, but the problem with the pendulum is the roof, right? It's a skylight, so that's not really going to work that well. It would involve a lot of modifications, unless I guess I could dangle it from the middle there maybe, and that would kind of work. The other option, I think, is maybe put like a life tree or something on the ground floor and then have it coming up. So again, there's something sort of to look at as you're sort of looking down, because right now that's sort of what makes it feel very disjointed. And the fact that we have this massive open space here, it feels like really wasted real estate and an incredibly premium building. And not just from a Lego perspective, but your museums are premium. This is in a premium part of the city. This is in an old building that's been renovated. They're not going to have this massive space. It's not just my camera and the fact that I have my light kind of reflecting off of it, but you can't see through these down to see the dinosaur. Like, no, it's just not possible. But it doesn't mean that I disrespect the design, because in real life, the sun would come through here and you would actually get some light on the ground floor from it, and that would really help the darkened building. I still really like this. I think it's so cool. And the fact, remember, you got a skylight here too for the caretaker. It's just so sweet. The main question is the set worth $300 and should you buy it? In my opinion, yes, on both fronts. And that's because LEGO have executed what they needed to very, very well. In that, my main complaints about the set is the fact the front is maybe a little busy, so you can edit that to your liking, and the fact that the second floor could do with a little bit more interior work. Those critiques are pretty minor in terms of the size and scope of the set. Shouldn't distract us from the things that were executed brilliantly. This is gorgeous. The columns are gorgeous. This cherry blossom tree is gorgeous. The fact that they went to the effort of changing out these from teeth elements to curve elements at the top just to sort of keep the design fresh from layer to layer speaks to the quality of design that we're looking at. It sort of gets lost kind of with all the other details that this has beautiful snot work with tiles there to create extra texture and depth at the front here, and really framing these bottom windows, and you can barely even see it because of all the other things they put in front of it. The fact that we also have these absolutely gorgeous vinyl banners, I mean, that's just such a beautiful thing that you're not going to often see in LEGO, and it fits perfectly with exactly what a museum would do in this day and age. When I think about what I've had to say about this review, my major point was the second floor maybe could do with a little bit more in there. How often realistically am I going to take this roof off and look at the second floor and think about, there probably should be more stuff in there? Not that often. All there's really left for me to do is actually put it in the city. And you'll see that there's a massive space there because I don't think it actually goes well with all the other buildings. So I'm going to put it, oddly, right here. Now, if you think that looks a little boring and bare, don't worry, because I've been busy building, and next to it is going to go the rebrickable model of the courthouse. But that's not all, because if you like museums, my next video is actually going to be this rebrickable model of the Lion's Night Castle into the Medieval Museum. And sort of when I do that, I am very much in love with this street. If you're still here after an hour, you're an absolute legend, but it probably means that you enjoyed this video, so do hit the like button to let me know. And if you hit the subscribe button while you're at it, that would be amazing too. If you have any ideas as to how to improve the interior of the second floor, or maybe you think it's fine and I'm just overreacting, comment below and let me know. I'm always interested to hear what other people think of these sets as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.